You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with a special edition episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, this special edition episode is an interview that I'm having with someone who has been in the news for the past couple of weeks. And when I heard about this story, I thought that there were a lot of contradictions, a lot of hypocrisies, and some things that really did not sit well with me. The Philadelphia Inquirer just released what was supposed to be a bombshell, I guess, expose talking about this $20,000 expense from an awards gala that unpinned Philadelphia or Pennsylvania's Civil Rights Enforcement Agency. They're talking about this exchange that had happened 2 weeks before Governor Shapiro had asked our special guest for this episode, Chad Dion Lassiter, to resign as the head of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, and then it launched an investigation to its spending. Well, I have with me a special guest for this special edition episode of Ernestly Speaking, who is the head of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, known as also PHRC, who is going to provide some information, some clarity around these allegations, what he believes led to his resignation, and what is his next steps, and what other information that he wants us to know. Good afternoon, Chad. Thank you for coming on Ernestly Speaking.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So, I just want to start off by saying, how do you feel right now? It's been a lot of news. It's been a lot of stuff out there that's been said, and I wanted to just check in with you on, how are you feeling about this? You are the hot topic right now, and what made you want to come on this show? Because I did know that you did speak to the Inquirer, but you reached out, and I wanted to, let the audience understand, what's going on here.
Well, first and foremost, I'm trying to heal from this. I'm very disturbed. I'm very disappointed. I'm very dismayed. I've led the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission with a high moral compass and a high moral imperative for the past 8 years. We've been around for 71 years, and I'm the 5th executive director, 3 regional offices in Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, and Philadelphia, and a workforce of 92. So being a native son of Philadelphia and being in the newspaper and being in the public eye for the past 20 years, I've never been in a space where what the Philadelphia Inquirer did with its reporter, Max, which was not full transparency, which was not good journalism, which was not factual based, but Max was about got you and a hatchet job on 2 articles. As you can imagine, I'm a human being. I have feelings. And so I was very disappointed. I'm deeply hurt because I put it on the line for the people of the Commonwealth and for 2 governors and an entire agency over the past 8 years.
And you're talking about Governor Wolf and then now Governor Shapiro?
Correct.
Right. So before we get into all that in depth, what has been your 8 years? I can imagine you've been there for nearly a decade. It could not have been as chaotic as it is now. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stayed. You done went through the Trump administration, the Biden administration, and then now back here with the Trump administration round 2. I guess let's start into the highs. I always, anytime I've guessed, I'm like, what are the highs before things go south? What has been some of the achievements that you have been able to do for the past 8 years?
Wow, Ernest, great question. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, my experiences at PHRC have been an 8. Over the past 8 years, some of the highs have been being able to create 23 new positions that are for the work that we're doing at the PHRC, fighting for the rights of LGBTQ plus individuals and passing guidances, being part and partial of making sure that people understood that they could not be discriminated against because of their hair. So we were on the front lines with the Crown Act. There was a historical backlog when I got to the PHRC, meaning the cases that people would file. We were able to get rid of almost 4,000 to 5,000 cases that were in backlog. We also created a civil rights division, and the civil rights division was modeled after the United States Department of Justice Office of Civil Rights Community Relations Services, called CROC. which is an acronym for Civil Rights Outreach Coordinators. We also gained more visibility. When I got to PHRC, respectfully, it was known as the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission for Payday Lending. If you sneezed and someone said, God bless you, someone was filed a grievance, people were suing, and they have that right. But we operated over the past 8 years with the three pillars of the civil rights movement: truth, love, and kindness. So we reduced all of that, kind of like internal stuff. And we've grown the visibility of the PHRC and a lot of successes. People, they know us in the Department of Justice. They, under multiple administrations. You mentioned the Trump administration. We were able to guide the PHRC during Trump 1.0, through COVID, through the civil unrest of George Floyd, and now this moment. People push back. Critical race theory, what are you talking about? We were able to define what critical race theory is. So there's been a lot of positives, and I would encourage everyone to check out our annual report, our 5-year report. We created a no hate in our state kind of concept. Wherever there's a surge of white nationalism and white supremacy, the PHRC set up a no hate in our state. And our fair housing white paper, we have 2 editions of that. And so a lot of positive things.
So, I know a little bit that your successor in the role, there was a lot of lawsuits, there was a lot of controversy with some of the things that was happening before you entered the position. Was there any drama, lawsuits, anything happening in these 8 years under your leadership?
That was what I said aforementioned. No, of course, people filed. They have that right. We had 2 federal lawsuits. Typically, what the commission was doing before I got there was to simply say, well, the insurance ceiling is this. Let's go ahead and pay out. Commissioner Curtis Jones, who's been there the 8 years I've been
And
there
that's
as the
city
commissioner.
council, and that's city council member?
City Councilman Curtis Jones.
Curtis Jones, okay.
He's been a commissioner for 12 years, 8 of my years. And Commissioner Jones and I kind of steered the commission to a point of, if someone wants to file, let's go to court. We've had 2 federal cases. We won both of them unanimously. We've had a lot of, not a lot, but we've had folk who have filed EEOC complaints, EEO complaints, and they have that right. I say that discrimination is real, perceived, or imagined. We don't discriminate at the PHRC. We don't create hostile work environments. We see people's humanity. So under my leadership in 8 years, we've not had one federal suit that we've had to pay, and we've not lost any EEOC or EEO complaints. We also do internal trainings.
Okay.
We bring in the Anti-Defamation League and others that train us on unconscious bias and things of that nature. So we've turned the ethos around at the PHRC.
And this is a stark contrast from the previous leadership team that was there.
Yes. Under the previous executive director, Joanne Edwards, it was chaotic. There was a lot of grievances. There were a lot of people filing. Prior to Joanne Edwards, it was the historic civil rights icon, Homer Floyd, who was a contemporary of Martin Luther King Jr. He was the longest serving executive director for 40 years. So when people want to compare from a qualitative and quantitative perspective between Joanne Edwards and the years of chaos and where I'm at, it's been night and day. It's been 8 years of enlightenment, 8 years of higher visibility, 8 years of product. If you look at the annual report before I got to the PHRC, respectfully, it looked like a coloring book. When you look at the annual report that now exists and the subsequent ones, 8 annual reports that just highlight PHRC has been on the road for justice for the people of the Commonwealth.
So you've worked with both of these governors, Governor Wolf, Governor Shapiro. How would you describe, before the incident at hand, we are going to really unpack what happened in February of this year. But what was the relationship with yourself with both of the governors, Wolf, Shapiro? Was it positive? I mean, before this year, I just want to get a better sense of the relationship. What was those relationships like?
Certainly. Governor Wolf was a little bit more accessible. That was just his personality. And also, I benefited from individuals who were part of that administration: Secretary John Wetzel of Corrections, Secretary Michael Newsom of Office of Administration and Human Resources, and then he had an amazing executive assistant by the name of Ms. Jean Wilford. So there will be times where I can come in and just say hi to the governor. I can talk to the governor about some things that PHRC was working on. And then the Governor Wolf, also had a good relationship with Congressman Dwight Evans, who goes to my church and he knows my pastor. Really, really good relationship with Governor Wolf. With Governor Shapiro, the relationship started when he was the attorney general.
Yes, AG.
And he and I did a evening conversation combating racism and anti-Semitism in the Commonwealth. And it was held at Marshall Mitchell's church, Selling Baptist Church.
And that's a
It was during
mentor of
that
his.
time.
That's Marshall is someone who's come up in conversations in the past with Shapiro. He talked about him in his book. He talks about him as being a close friend. So the pattern, I've noticed a pattern every time Marshall Mitchell's name comes up, the governor's name come up, it seems like there's a linkage there. So that was your way
Okay.
of having dialogue with the governor in the beginning or before he was governor?
Yeah, as when he was attorney general. And I remember saying to him, I don't know if you're going to run for governor, but if you do, and you win, I would love for the PHRC to establish a civil rights division to address anti-Semitism, but Islamophobia and all the isms.
Right.
And when he became governor, I revisited that with a concept paper, and he supported the PHRC, and that's how we were able to get our civil rights division. He supported it. Senator Bob Casey supported
Oh,
it,
wow.
and Congressman Dwight Evans supported it. Working with this administration, for me, has been it's been very positive. He's not a person that I've had meetings with face to face, but he's aware of the meetings that PHRC has. He's aware of the work that we do. So there's been a lot of times where we're in various spaces, and he's always been cordial. He's always been, collegial. How's PHRC doing? How's things happening? More along the lines of like a spiritual thing, right?
Okay.
Because he may know from Marshall Mitchell that my mom has had a couple of strokes. Yo, how's your mother doing? She's doing good. Okay, hang in there. And so for me, working with his people has been a godsend. He's aware of the work that the PHRC does. Every annual report, he does a message that thanks me as the executive director, thanks the staff, and thanks, the commissioners. And so for me, it was never in the back of my mind that there was any beef. And even for your podcast, I don't have a feud with this governor. I think that he has some folk in his administration that they just air it the wrong way. And now what they're trying to do is clean up their mess.
So let's talk about this mess. Because I think, the headline, the way it's been talked about is that Governor Shapiro asked Chad Dion Lassiter to resign. This relationship that you all have, him asking you to leave is like, that's what they're saying. So where do we start? I guess we'll start with, did the governor ask you to resign?
The governor did not ask me to resign. The governor had 3 people in his administration that reached out to my then chair on February 23rd and told my chair that they wanted me to step down in 2 weeks based on some 3 things that they mentioned. So Governor Josh Shapiro has never said Chad Dion Lassiter, Executive Director Lassiter, step down. 3 of his people told my chair.
Right. And we can assume that if his 3 people did it on his behalf, then in many ways he was aware of that ask.
Well, I would say, and one of the things I like about you, Ernest, is that you're gonna push your guests,
Yeah.
and I'm not afraid to be pushed.
Well, that's
I think
what we're
there's
here
2
for.
schools of thought. That one school of thought is the governor knows everything that goes on.
I would hope so.
I would hope so as well. Some people say that his team makes decisions and they don't bring it to him to make a decision. So sometimes he's not aware. I don't know if the governor was aware of these 3 people telling me to step down, but I can tell you how I felt when my chair called me on February 23rd to tell me.
Well, hold on. Who are the 3 people?
There were 3 people in his office, 2 out of the office of general counsel, a Theron Perez, a Lori Malone, and an Amanda Warren.
And what are their roles? You said 2 came from the general counsel, and then the other person, where did they come from? That wasn't out of the general. Because I know
one of them, 2 are in the office of general counsel out of the governor's office.
Right. So that's the legal folks.
So Theron Perez is the first deputy general counsel. Lori Malone is actually she's the chief of staff of the office of general counsel, and Amanda Warren is the executive deputy chief of staff and director of external affairs office of Governor Josh Shapiro.
So that's That's typically how it goes when someone gets fired. They get called to the HR office. Normally, the attorney's there, general counsel. So this is. I can only imagine the politics and optics that he didn't know, but he sent them to do it. He could even give you the courtesy call. Have you spoken to him?
I have not.
Okay. So this all took place February 23rd was when you got hit up by them.
No, my chair received a call.
Oh, yeah, you didn't get hit up by them. They called your chair.
They called my chair.
Oh, and who's the chair of
The former chair of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission was Joel Bolstein.
That's what they contacted?
They contacted Joel Bolstein.
When did he leave? You said
Joel
former.
Bolstein, I don't have his resignation committed to memory, but it was sometime in April. We have a commission meeting the last Monday of every month.
Right.
So we had our commission meeting February 23rd.
Was this following the first story that came out?
What was following which story?
When the Inquirer did the first story. I mean, this is the second story that they've put out.
The first story came out after our chair, I believe, resigned, but I don't have that committed to memory.
Right. So, but you just, the timeline. So this, I'm just keeping the timeline here. So February 23rd. So let's back up. Let's just do a quick little timeline. February 12th, 2026 is the NAACP gala. That's the big gala. We're going to get into all the details because, I mean, $20,000, I'm gagged, okay? I'm a little gagged myself at that number. But we'll talk about that. But February 12th was the gala. February 23rd, your former chairman of the commission, who was then still chair before they resigned in April, they got hit up by 3 members from Josh Shapiro's team. And what happened? What did they ask?
They called the chair, and so if I may, February 23rd was our PHRC monthly commission meeting that we meet once a month, the last Monday of every month. So when the chair called me, I thought the chair was just going to call me about some commission business, because we had just finished our monthly commission meeting. And he leaned in by saying, "Yo, ED, this is one of the hardest things I've had to, I'm going to have to tell you." I said, "What's going on?" He then paused. "The governor's office wants me to tell you that they want you to step down in 2 weeks." I was incensed. I was bewildered. I was dismayed. I said, "Based on what?" They said that you were catching cabs and limousines. There was an incident at the University of Pennsylvania with Howard Stevenson. And there was a P card purchase with Staples, PayPal's, and the situation with the NAACP. So I unpacked that.
Okay.
I said, "Well, I've never caught a cab or a limousine. We have a car service that has been approved by DGS and Fleet Management that as an independent agency, we ordered a vehicle for me being 6'6". I traveled for 2 years to 67 counties to deliver something called the Beloved Community Framework, talking to counties about what the PHRC is, know your rights. Do you know that if you're discriminated against in the areas of commercial property, public accommodations, education, housing and employment, disability, any protected category, you can file with the PHRC. Ernest, I finished that 2-year Beloved Community Tour in May of 2025. There's no cabs. There's no limousines. The car service was approved. I wasn't trying to drive around the Commonwealth like the governor."
Right. And so let me back up. That was a year ago. The last time y'all used it.
I finished the Beloved Community Tour in May of 2025.
And so for an entire year, they never brought this up to you?
Never. And we got approved and we were audited and we passed the audit. We got approval for a car service for the executive director and his staff at times to travel 6 hours one way to do a 2-hour presentation, 6 hours back, 4 hours one way, 2-hour presentation, sometimes 3-hour presentation, 4 hours back, all approved. I shared that with the chair.
Hold on real quick. This was not limousines? What is this whole limousines? This wasn't limousine?
It was a car service.
And you haven't done any limousines and stuff
I've never caught a limousine or a cab since I've been in the Commonwealth. I don't recall the last time I was in a limousine.
Okay.
Just in general. Just in general.
So you think they were referencing this car service situation, but that was already approved. That was a year ago. This was specifically done for your tours and how you would describe your tours and things of that nature.
I turned that information over to the chair, so you check that one off. I told the chair, I said, "Chair, I got that information." We checked that off. I said, "Chair, With regards to the purchasing card, I don't have a purchasing card.
You don't have a
There are
purchasing
three
card?
people. A purchasing card is a card that you use if you're going to pay for reams of paper from Staples. If someone comes in, they do a training for mindfulness and it doesn't go over a certain amount of threshold and they have a PayPal business account. Our photographer, who you probably know, Damian Townsville,
Oh
he
yeah, I know
takes
him.
pictures.
Yeah.
He submits an invoice. We have three people at the PHRC that have purchasing cards.
And they called that a P card?
Yeah, it's called a purchasing card.
So purchasing card, P card. So you didn't have one. Okay, but you was accused of, I'm trying to understand. So can you explain the P card situation?
Yes, the P card situation, when PHRC found out that there were some challenges in that space, I met with the three individuals who had a purchasing card.
Okay.
And if one purchasing card was $50,000 limit, I reduced that. The other person may have had a $20,000 limit, I reduced that. And if the third person had a $15,000 limit, I reduced that. I started working with the governor's budget office to find out, with our coding, are we doing it monthly or quarterly? When the governor's budget office informed me we were doing it quarterly, but they recommended to us several times that we should have been doing it monthly. I instructed the team, we need to do it monthly, and we need to make sure we're coding it accurately. What's lost in, once again, the hatchet job by Max and the Philadelphia Inquirer, allowing him to get back to that space of doing hatchet jobs when they promised the Black community that they were not going to do hatchet jobs like that anymore after George Floyd, is that the governor's budget office oversees the budget of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. Every month for the past 8 years, the governor's budget office, they're our allies. The chairman and myself, we meet with them. I've had a stellar relationship with them. They are the ones that will say, E.D. Lassiter or Chad, you can do that, or you're coming up on that. Do you want to reduce travel? Do you want to reduce marketing? You can do this. What's also missing in this is that the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission has $5 million in waiver funds. Waiver is that one-time thing that you can do out of those funds. So we've used waiver in the past, not to get too far into this, to buy 125 laptops for the staff and bells and whistles. $500,000 3 years ago approved to upgrade our case management system. State Treasurer Stacey Garrity has approved waiver every year that she's been the state treasurer. So when we're looking at the P card, purchasing card, there was one employee. What the public needs to also understand is that the Office of the Chief Counsel at PHRC raised some concerns, and they have that right. But when they start characterizing me as running a criminal enterprise and embezzling money, that's where I lend pause, because that's not who I am.
So was that the accusation that you got from the chair internally? That was the allegation.
That's no allegations. Internal conversations with the Office of the Chief Counsel at PHRC. You know, the water cooler, rumors, having conversations on the side, creating, internal hysteria. But I'm glad that they raised the questions that they raised. It just could have been done in a very formalized manner.
So with that P card usage that you didn't have, what happened to the individuals involved with using it? Because clearly there was a concern about the cards being used. What happened to those employees? I mean, clearly if they're raising the issue, it's not your responsibility. What was going on with those cards? Who was, was there any accountability for those individuals?
Great question, Ernest. The question around the P cards and the inquiries never started as that. It started out as two employees having a conflict over procurement, over policy, over procedures. One person says, hey, you're creating a hostile work environment for me. The other person was saying, no, I'm just asking the questions. I'm opining that I really believe that we need to look at how procurement is happening. To make a short story shorter, the Office of Administration and Human Resources began an investigation into expenditures, not the hostile work environment initially, but we don't have to spend time on that. They did a deep dive and they found out that there was one person who had their purchasing card, and in 2025, they were using it, misappropriating it. It was very egregious. They had the data. That person was terminated.
Okay.
That was the investigation. That person was terminated.
When were they fired?
I would say about 3 weeks ago. I don't have the data committed to
So,
memory.
so an employee at your office was found to be misappropriating funds with the P card.
Taking their P card and purchasing personal items throughout 2025. That person had a supervisor. Ultimately, I'm the executive director of the PHRC. I don't obligate my responsibility. I still don't know how you could put systems in place. So just for the record,
Yeah.
this is not on the governor's budget office. It starts with the person who had who shouldn't have done this. But I don't know how it comes to a point where you know what they're doing because you trust a person with their purchasing card.
Right. So there was an employee in the office that did have the P card that was making these expenses. There was an investigation. This person has been fired 3 weeks ago. That's not connected to you. Okay. Is it? I mean, they can't hear you.
She worked for me. She worked for the PHRC.
Right.
I'm not.
But
I'm
those were
not
not
under
your. But
investigation.
clearly they didn't. Yeah. So you was never under investigation.
No, that's the illusion. Nobody has said, Chad Dion Lassiter, we're investigating you misappropriating funds. I don't misappropriate funds. I can't do anything without checks and balances in place.
So when they came to you about these allegations about the P card and things, was this investigation already taking place? It was?
Yes, it
Okay.
was.
So when that was happening, again, you was never investigated in this process as being the one to do the expenses because you didn't have the P card.
I don't have a purchasing card.
So then this person is no longer working at PCHR.
She's not at PHRC. The person's,
Yeah.
the person is no longer at PHRC.
They got fired, you said 2 to 3 weeks ago?
Person got terminated 3 weeks ago.
Okay. All right. So I'm just trying to understand. So is there an investigation happening now?
I don't know what investigation would be going on. This is what I believe the administration is doing.
Right, but before we get to that, I want to talk about that third part. You said it was a situation happened with Stevenson.
So PHRC, oh my God, we failed to acknowledge and realize that when we did this Lion Story event with Dr. Howard Stevenson, his brother Brian Stevenson, and Dr. Robin Smith, that it was a fundraiser. That was on us. But once again, just as a man of faith, I just really believe for me, like this has not been a job. This has been a 8-year assignment. It was supposed to be 5. God expanded it to 8. So Ernest, the secretary of the budget, the former secretary of the budget, Ori Munson, he's an ally. He contacts me and says, yo, Chad, PHRC is doing a fundraiser and you can't do a fundraiser as a government entity. I went and met with my team. I thanked them. I went and met with my team. And I asked my team, you guys have been part of the planning stages with this. What's going on? Did you not know that it was a fundraiser? Oh, we didn't know. I said, well, it's clear as day. It's in our booklet that we put together. It was a QR code. I went down to the University of Penn. I met with Dr. Stevenson. I spoke to the then Vice President of Governmental Affairs, Jeffrey Cooper. And I said to Dr. Stevenson, we can't continue with the contract. It's a fundraiser. We won't just get dinged, but I'll be in the unemployment line or working somewhere else.
Correct.
We got out of it. We did the Lion Story event, but we did not do a contract with with Dr. Stevenson or Brian Stevenson, but we still had the event. And so you check that off.
So why did it come up in conversation?
I don't know. You would have to ask the 3 people that stepped to the chair. And that Dr. Stevenson's event with Brian Stevenson and Dr. Robin Smith.
Yes.
I believe that event was sometime in September.
Yeah, I went to that event actually. Just as
in September, and you're bringing it up February 23rd. So I think what's missing, and I know you have some other questions for me, is I think this is targeted. I don't know who's targeting it, but you're bringing up situation.
No. Let's go back. If you feel like you're targeted, who's doing the targeting?
I think it could be a myriad of individuals, Ernest.
But the people that's bringing this stuff to you, they're the ones bringing these allegations. So it would be the Shapiro office. I mean, administration. I mean, they're the ones bringing this up to you. You have anybody else contact you about these things?
No, never got anything from the Auditor General, never got anything from the State Treasurer in my 8 years, whether that was Eugene D. Pascal or Stacey Garrity or
AG Dave
anyone.
Sunday, the Attorney General Dave
No,
Sunday. Okay, so the Shapiro administration is the one that came to you with these things. This is all news to you in the ways in which this is being done. So you have a situation based on tracking this. You have a situation that involves a ride service that you did March of 2025,
May 2025.
May 2025. So this is a year ago. You have a P card purchase that was not your purchase, that was by a now ex-employee that was
Correct.
investigated, that had nothing to do with you.
Correct.
An event that you all could have been involved with, but didn't get involved with and was able to duck out of fire. That was September of last year. All of this stuff
Correct.
comes to you and you're being asked to leave based on these situations.
Correct.
And then I guess the final nail in the coffin is this NAACP Philadelphia gala that took place on February 12th. But before we get into that around NAACP event, because I know that's a whole, epic within itself, you're saying now that you're feeling you felt like you're being targeted, and clearly you're feeling targeted by the Shapiro administration. I won't put words in your mouth, but they're the ones bringing this up to you.
Yes.
So why do you think you're being targeted? Like, what makes you special? I'm just trying to understand, why would you be the one?
Yeah, I don't think I'm special. I
Yeah.
do know that I'm a servant leader. I think that what I know is that we turned the PHRC around over the past 8 years. We made it effective. We've moved it to the forefront. We have a 5-year strategic plan that just really highlights the future of civil rights, moving civil rights to human rights in the Commonwealth. And so I think that there are some within the state assembly. For instance, there's a Senator Philip Hill who was on record saying that I should be spending more time. She was quoted in one of the articles.
And she's a Republican.
Out
Is she a Republican?
in Central PA.
And she's a Republican?
She's a Republican.
Yes. Okay.
He should be spending more time with finances. He wants to do more stuff around advocacy. Civil rights is advocacy work. Human rights is advocacy work and agency work. So I think it's a combination of things. I think that there are a lot of people who don't appreciate how we turned the PHRC around. And it's hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around it. Wait a minute. What do you mean you're being targeted? Well, I think it's larger than Chad Dion Lassiter. I think when you look at what's happening nationally, when you look at, the fact that this term woke, when you look at DEI being scrubbed, belonging to humanity being scrubbed all around the country, I think it's part and parcel of that.
But make it plain for me. Because I hear everything that you're saying, but the administration is a Democratic administration. The governor's a Democrat. The team is Democrat. They're liberals. What are you trying to imply? Because that Republican that you're referring to, she's not the one who sent you the information. She didn't ask for you to resign. So I need you to make it make sense to someone like myself.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, and I'm the one that's going through it, right? And so
yeah,
you're
but
absolutely right.
but I'm saying, what do you think? But what do you think is the basis here? Because you're connecting these dots, and I'm trying to figure it out for you.
I think that whether it's the governor's administration or the governor, to me, who's ever behind this seems to want to have the independence of the PHRC stripped away to build it to whatever it is they're trying to build. So, for instance, 2019, all of the commissioners that were part of the PHRC terms expired. They were not reappointed, or no new commissioners were added.
Interesting.
Now,
what were these commissions? Can you name some of them?
PHRC commissioners. We're supposed to have 11. We only have 7.
And he's never, and since 2019.
Since 2019, they have not been reappointed, nor have new commissioners been added. We have 4 commissioners now. Our chair resigned, our vice chair resigned, our secretary resigned.
Why did they resign? Just for different reasons? What do we know?
I think there's a myriad of reasons. I don't know the hearts of men and women, and or anything of that nature. I think Chairman Ousting articulated that he's a managing partner at Fox Rothschild. He stepped down 28 years. Raquel Yanks was the commissioner for 48 years.
Oh,
She stepped down.
okay.
I think the media wants to try to draw that into, oh, all the challenges. I just think that commissioners looked up and said, we've not been reappointed since 2019. I would also say, in all fairness to both Governor Wolf and Governor Shapiro, they both tried to appoint commissioners. It's a nonpartisan organization. So you can, at one point, have 11 commissioners, 6 can be Democrat, 5 can be Republican, or 6 could be Republican, 5 could be Democrat. They weren't reappointed because there's a challenge within the Senate that's majority Republican.
Okay.
That's not allowing for, confirmations to come up. And so people want to kind of draw that nexus, but both governors have attempted to appoint new commissioners. And so when their terms expired in 2019, if you read the bylaws, they serve at the will of the governor, and they've done an amazing job. All of the commissioners, Joe Ousting by far was one of the best bosses I've had. They don't get paid, they volunteer, and their terms expire. And so they've resigned. The media needs to ask them why they chose to resign. From what I know, they came to the very end of the work that they were doing at the PHRC.
So the governor has not been able to replace these people.
To date, no.
And so it's like, so who's left? Is it 7 people left or 4?
We have 4. We had 7. So we started with 11 when I got the PHRC in 2018. Adrian Schenker, who's the LGBTQ plus advocate, he ran the Brady Sullivan Center up in Allentown.
Yeah.
He resigned because he got called into the Biden-Harris administration.
Got you.
George Dawson, he resigned because he became a judge. Kathleen Dormer, she resigned because she got a job that just had too many demands. The 4th person was the former chair, Jerry Robinson. He resigned. That left us with 7. Chairman Bolstein had been there for 28 years. Raquel Yanks had been there for 48. Mayor Patel had been there for 12. Curtis Jones had been there for 12. Michael Hardiman, who was our former chief counsel, 34 years at the PHRC, he's been there for 12. Agarwal's been there for 12, and Alina Sarathi has been there for 8. Bolstein resigns, Yanks resigns, and then Patel resigns. That leaves Curtis Jones as the chair, Commissioner Sarathia, Commissioner Agarwal, and Commissioner Hardiman. So when the media says, you don't have a quorum, we still do have a quorum. When the media says, there's a lot of turmoil, the staff at PHRC are remarkable. They show up every single day. They take complaints. They investigate the complaints. Mediation takes the complaints from the mediator, the complainant, and the respondent. The Civil Rights Outreach Division is still out there. We're still doing presentations to combat xenophobia, homophobia, all of the isms.
Gotcha. So structurally, these things are a combination of politics, time, and just the logistical aspects. But again, I'm trying to understand this part about the targeting aspect. Based on what you're saying, I mean, is it that the politics of now, these attacks on DEI, these conversations around an agency like you all that is independent, what is the desire, do you think, is happening now with specific your agency?
I think that question is hard for me, Ernest, both as a social scientist and the person that's going through it. I like the fact that you're pushing me. I tie it into what we're seeing with the stripping away of 335 people lost their jobs under the Trump administration with the United States Department of Justice Office of Civil Rights Community Relations Services. 335 conciliators lost their jobs. PHRC was part of the amicus brief to say that appropriations should come back to the tune of $20.7 million for those people. DEI being scrubbed. This is also an administration, Shapiro administration, that got rid of the DEI office that was ran by Norman Bristol Cologne and his assistant, Michelle Therese.
When did that get eliminated?
I don't know why they got eliminated.
When did it get eliminated?
Oh, when? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I don't have that committed to memory, but recently. But it was an office. It was an office at the Commonwealth.
So this was after the Trump administration, second term.
Oh, it was recently during Trump 2.0 that our office on the state level for DEI was eliminated.
And Shapiro did that.
The governor's administration.
So they cut the DEI office. Now this independent agency is losing some, they're asking you to leave. Any other offices, leaders?
Not that I know of, and I'm also not certain how many other offices have been under the type of scrutiny that's made it to the news based on something that it's a civil rights organization is one of the oldest civil rights organizations. And so we never paid these individuals. And so, when you're asking the question, what's going on? I think that's a question that the public needs to ask. What does this office, what does this administration get with, you know, being in a space where they're asking for the executive director of the PHRC to leave after 8 years of nothing but stellar work that I've done through a shared leadership philosophy. I didn't do all this on my own.
Right. So that brings me to February 12th, NAACP Philadelphia Gala. That was the last piece, to which is why they say, hey, Chad gotta go. Them, not me. This $20,000 expense for an awards gala. They're saying that this is what unpinned the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency. And in many ways, the Shapiro administration can make themselves appear that, hey, they did the right thing in regards to this. That they were holding checks and balances here against this institution. Okay, let's talk about the basics. Why were you there? Why were you a part of this? What is you and the NAACP Philadelphia? What is you all's connection? What was this gala about? Let's get there.
So just really briefly, the PHRC, we have a great relationship with the national NAACP.
Okay.
I'm a close colleague to Derek Johnson, the chair of the national NAACP, Leon Russell. He used to be an executive director of the Florida Tallahassee branch of a Human Relations Commission, and so we have partnerships and friendships with all of the NAACPs in the state. We do trainings with the NAACPs. When there's civil unrest with NAACPs, PHRC works in tandem with them. The Philadelphia NAACP
Yes.
chose me to be there, get their President's Award. And they chose me to get their President's Award, and they sent me a congratulatory kind of letter letting me know that same day, that same night for the awards, there was going to be some other awardees. And so PHRC, we do what we always do, whether I got an award or not. When there are social justice community partners, and NAACP is one, Urban League is one, LGBTQ plus organizations or others, we are given an opportunity to go and network and work with our partners. We're not just going to have cocktails, because that's not what we're doing.
Right.
And so we tell our partners we can't be listed as sponsors, because we can't. Even though we're an independent agency, we can say we're social justice, advocates or things of that nature. And we've done a lot of these. We've gone to the Urban League, Whitney M. Young Dinner, Urban League of Pittsburgh, Urban League of Philadelphia, Anti-Defamation League, and others. And so as we were trying to get this, we were up against the clock. We were up against the clock from the time that we have to put it in the system. And so I looked at this and was like, wait a minute, Madam Speaker Joanna McClinton, she's going to be the speaker at that time. She was supposed to be the keynote speaker. The chairman, Jordan Harris of Appropriations, he's going to be there. We're very, very fortunate that he advocates for our budget along with others. And so in sum, we wanted to attend the event. We've always done this, meaning we've always paid for tables to attend events. That same night, we had a cohort of staff at PHRC who were over at the National Constitution Center for the 50th year anniversary with Mark Siegel and the Philadelphia Gay News. As we attempted to do it, that's when the PHRC Office of the Chief Counsel said, you can't do it. And they said you can't do it because that's not appropriate to be spending expenditures, and started this kind of internal nonsense that I'm taking money from the budget to pay for awards for myself. That's just downright disrespectful and disingenuous.
So to be clear here, the tables were $10,000 a table.
A piece. Correct.
How many people are sitting at the table? Like, what comes with this? I know that there are other events that are definitely more political events, that are actual political events that charge groups. I mean, I throw galas and events, and we definitely have, you know, for those type of events at fundraisers. But I mean, I've never done 10,000 at a table. That's ambitious. But the NAACP Philadelphia, this is not the NAACP national group. This is the local chapter. Um, $10,000 a table. That's a lofty price. I mean, have there ever been? I mean, tables. Have you ever spent that much on tables for events?
Well, I would push back, Ernest, and simply say it's the fundraiser. So I'm not in the space of what's a lot.
Right, right.
I mean, I think your question is fair, but the Urban League, they have galas. The Urban League has the Whitney M. Young Empowerment, and um, I, I see prices for that. I see prices for that when you go to an event with multiple organizations by Asian American Pacific Islanders, and
Mm-hmm.
so for me,
But
these are
are
non.
you saying these prices are comparable to those prices?
They are. They very much are. So if you go to Alex Lemonade Gala, that might be more. That's Children's Hospital of
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
they
When I
searching.
was at the Red Cross, American Red Cross in Southeastern Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
we would go to galas and it would be a little bit more. The Red Ball is a little bit more, and so I would say that it's comparable. And I would say that we've done it at the PHRC, and we're not the only ones that do it. There's a lot of
Uh-huh.
agencies, Commonwealth, that do galas. So was the NAACP, I'm not saying you're minimizing it, but I wouldn't say, whoa, that's kind of lofty. I would
Well,
say
I
that
think I thought for
that's
the
nice.
local group. I never knew they were selling tickets for $10,000.
Well, I don't know
Tables for
what
10
their
tables, not
continuum is.
tickets.
I would say that it was their first gala since COVID.
Okay, okay, that provides context. Okay, so this was going to clearly be a big investment. But it was raising money. So you needed two tables.
Yeah, I needed two tables because we have staff that wanted to attend.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the Philadelphia Advisory Council to the PHRC.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people wanted to go. And then Ernestly, not Ernest,
Yeah.
I was celebrating my staff. I got the presidential award and I wanted to acknowledge my staff. I've gotten awards where we've attended. I was the keynote. PHRC didn't pay for a table. It was out in central PA or western PA, and I'm there by myself. I still was acknowledging my staff. It was in Philadelphia. It's my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
We're not using money to go to a Sixers game or to a Super Bowl, you know. And so when you look at what Max put in his article, the United Negro College Fund Mass Ball, the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, that's tied into Westmore. Then he lists City and State PA, City Trailblazer, and then he glossed over in his hatchet job, he glossed over the fact that we were using, we also were at the Philadelphia Gay News. The reality is, if it's the Anti-Defamation League, if it's an LGBTQ plus organization, we can't show up because that becomes an ethics situation. You just can't show up. If our chairman is getting an award and he says, "Yo, ED, I would love for PHRC, to attend." If we have it in the budget, we go.
So you weren't just doing it for Black organizations.
No,
Right, but I'm just saying you're bringing up the article, and you're saying the article kind of just really emphasized.
oh yeah. To his hatchet job, that's what he tried to show. Just that. But we've done it for multiple organizations. We're a nonpartisan organization. Civil rights is just not for Black people; it's for all people. So when he listed that, he was kind of trying to make a story. That's what he was trying to do.
In your opinion. So you're saying that this is something that you all have been doing for other various groups. You've bought tables before, you've bought ads before. It's not just for the Black organizations, which you show some, I guess the narrative would be that, you hooking up your friends and people you cool with. It's different groups have gotten this. Name some other organizations that have gotten tables and things over the years that you can think of that does not fit this perception, right? Like
That other people are doing in the Commonwealth or the PHRC?
PHRC. I'm just saying, like it seemed like it's just Black organizations.
Urban League of Pittsburgh,
Okay.
Urban League of Philadelphia.
Okay.
We've had the Anti-Defamation League not do a gala. They don't have galas, but they've come in and they've trained PHRC on uncultural bias training 4 times. So we do everything that's mission critical. Everything that we do is centered on mission critical. If we're doing a fair housing conference, we will do it in Harrisburg at the Harrisburg Hilton. We put it into a purchasing order. 5 entities, those offices that I mentioned before, have to review that. And so this is not just PHRC getting dialed up to go to galas. It's PHRC partnering with people that we work with. So the governor gave a keynote to the oldest civil rights organization in America, and the PHRC partners with that organization to do trainings, to do seminars. We receive complaints from NAACPs all around the state when people file complaints.
So let's back up. The governor gave a keynote address on February 12th at the NAACP Philadelphia Gala that you all attended.
Yes, Speaker Joanna McClinton was supposed to give the keynote, and Speaker Joanna McClinton had an emergency, and the governor stepped in admirably.
Wow. And you brought something to me. You sent me this letter because I think this is important to note. But this letter you received on February 12th, this is the day of the gala. It has the masthead, Governor Josh Shapiro, February 12th, 2026, with the crest, and it says, Chad Dion Lassiter, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Greetings, Chad. It is my honor to join your friends, family, and colleagues to recognize you for your outstanding contributions to our Commonwealth and congratulate you on receiving the NAACP Philadelphia Branch President's Award. Pennsylvania is shaped and strengthened by the leadership and character of extraordinary people. You have been a driving force for equity, ensuring that where your neighbors work, live, and play remain safe, secure, and free of discrimination. Your years of service, work ethic, and dedication have been rightly honored by your colleagues and community members, and I am proud to join them in recognizing the work you have done to strengthen our statewide civil rights enforcement, expand community-based programming, and spearhead bias prevention and conflict resolution initiatives across the state. May your leadership, expertise, and achievements serve as an inspiration to all. As governor and on behalf of all Pennsylvanians, I am honored to recognize your dedication and commitment to our Commonwealth. Please accept my best wishes for continued success. Given under the hand and seal of the governor at the city of Harrisburg, this 12th day of February, 2026, the year of the Commonwealth, the 250th. Governor Josh Shapiro with his signature and the seal of the governor right here, this document that I'm looking at that you have sent me. He was there. He knew you was going to be there. He recognized you. How does his administration, did you see him that night?
Yes, I spoke to the governor. My mother was in a wheelchair because she has Parkinson's, and she wanted to go over to the governor, but I thought it was important for State Rep Jordan Harris and President Kenyatta Johnson, who my mom speaks of glowingly, to come over and say hi to Mother Lassiter. So they did. So yes, I spoke to the governor. The governor's keynote was good, and then I think the governor left and may have went over to the other spot with National Constitution Center for the Philadelphia Gay News. But yes, I saw the governor. And once again, it's a challenge for me because, as I shared with you, Ernest, for me, what happened on February 23rd was very devastating, which led me to, on April 7th, say to myself, this is not the type of environment that I'm going to continue in. And I got in prayer and submitted a letter of resignation on April 7th to only 2 entities, the governor's office and my bosses, the commissioners.
And let's back up real quick. Let's back up. This is a lot. Let's take this all in. This is heavy. There's a lot. I'm just processing some of this. You saw him February 12th. You didn't end up going through with the expenses, because I just want to wrap that up a little bit. Up until that point, before February 12th, there was this back and forth over the expenses. You all never spent the $20,000.
The $20,000 never got spent. There was never an invoice from the NAACP Philadelphia chapter. There was never a shopping cart, meaning we didn't establish anything to pay them. And as of today, they've never sent us an invoice. We've never made a payment. The NAACP never got paid. We were told that we could not do it because of the procurement, and we did not do it.
And this is the first time you had a pushback around expenses?
First time in my 8 years. That's why I was perplexed. But also the office of the chief counsel, headed up by that then chief counsel, may not have known the procedures around procurement. But yes, to your point, 8 years I've been at the PHRC. No one has ever said you can't have a housing conference, you can't have a disability conference.
Right.
No one has ever said that you cannot purchase tables. You cannot attend an event.
Have you ever purchased tables in the past?
Yes, I shared that with you. Urban League of Philadelphia Gala.
Right. I just want to make sure it's on the record. So you've purchased tables in the past. You've bought ads in the past. You've done all this in the past. They just, for whatever reason, at this point, said no.
Yes, we have a lot of data that speaks to the Urban League of Philadelphia Gala, the Urban League Whitney M. Young Empowerment Dinner, the Urban League of Pittsburgh. All of these things we have been able to do. No one has ever said we couldn't go. When we went to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, they had their gala. They are our partners. We received permission to do out-of-state travel. There's a system in place.
Wow, okay.
We got permission for out-of-state travel. We were able to do that. When we go to conferences that are out of Pennsylvania, out-of-state travel, no one has ever said you can't go to a conference. In my 8 years, no one has ever said to the PHRC, you cannot engage in this empowerment dinner, this gala, this seminar, or anything of that nature.
Right.
And we've been able to do it. And if they told us that we couldn't, if I may, Ernest, if they told us that we couldn't do it for whatever reason, we would not do it.
Got you. So with that general counsel, is that general counsel coming from the governor's administration?
No, it was our PHRC person.
So you're in charge. So they weren't even involved at this point, to your knowledge.
Oh, he was involved. He was the one that was pushing back, saying you can't do it.
And that was the governor's office?
Our person.
Your person. Okay, but I'm talking about the general counsel for the governor. They weren't involved yet in this conversation. Okay, so Catherine Hicks, who is at NAACP Philadelphia, she's the president. She went on record at the Inquirer and said that they still provided you all tables in spite of. What was the nature of that? How did that work out?
I wasn't in that space, but once again, they didn't get paid at all.
So did they just provide you the tables instead? They just gave y'all tables, or?
We didn't pay for them, so yeah.
Okay. That seems nice.
For me, it's a violation of the gift ban. We can't get tables. You can't comp anybody anything.
Right. And so that's why you were buying the things, because you didn't want. The whole irony is that the whole reason why you was purchasing this, and I think this is an important note to make because a lot of people don't understand this, is that the reason why you all purchase these things, because as city agencies and state agencies, it can't look like you were receiving something, a bribe. So anything that's for sale, you buy.
Yeah, exactly. Or using your influence for anything. So quickly, Ernest.
Yeah.
I do probably about 40 keynotes a year.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put me up in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You can't purchase my food. I've done 11 keynotes for 11 NAACP chapters around the Commonwealth. When they bring me food, I don't eat. When they give me an honorarium, I say no. When I gave a commencement address at the University of Michigan School of Social Work, I can't receive an honorarium. So that's why we purchase tables. And if someone says that we can't, if the governor was getting an award and there was an opportunity for PHRC to support the governor, we would have attempted to purchase tables.
And everyone knows this. And everybody in Harrisburg, anybody in government knows this. So in some ways, it was almost as if you wouldn't be able to go.
I can't. None of us. You mentioned having a gala. You do a lot of activism and a lot of work. If you had a nonprofit that PHRC partners with, because these are not just, they're not our friends, we partner, and we say, hey, Ernest Owens has an event. Team, do you think this would be something advantageous for us? And the team would say, yeah, ED, because we're working on advocacy and agency here. We would say to our procurement person, hey, let's look at the budget. What's their package? oh no, we can't do silver sponsorship because we're an independent agency. We've had people from the comptroller's office tell us, PHRC, you can do it, but tell city and state or tell this entity, we have all this in writing, that you can't be listed as sponsors.
Right.
Okay, great. But we go because it's like, hey, Ernest, this is our director of this, or hey, Bob, or hey, Patricia, this is our person that does our training around DEI. We've always partnered with civil rights agencies.
Mm-hmm. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it is a way to keep the bias or the appearance of bias. So in the end, you all was able to still attend. You didn't spend any money because you weren't allowed to. Governor was there. Governor sees you. You know, everything's looking good. You get this resignation letter. So what made you decide to resign?
I was hurt from February 23rd.
Yeah.
I worked from February 23rd. I was in prayer. I was dismayed. I couldn't believe that, for your listening audience, Ernest, I'm not just a person that sat at my desk. The Beloved Community Tour was 67 counties where the people don't look anything like you and I, Ernest. We're talking about PA is number 10th in the country of hate groups assembling, white nationalist groups. We have 74. So I'm going to a place where there were challenges, and I've written about those challenges, and we were supposed to do a Beloved Community report talking about the 67 counties, Confederate flags, confrontations, not because of me, with unhinged white supremacists and white nationalists. So April 7th, I woke up and I said, it does not feel like love is no longer being served at the table. It's been 8 years. I looked at kind of this climate saying that, I see people being attacked around the country, but now I'm being attacked. I'm being targeted. I don't play politics. I think I shared with you and several others that maybe that's my naivete, that, I'm too trusting. I don't like darkness. And so I made the conscious decision to send a letter on April 7th. The reason why I said June 30th is because the way I read the scriptures is you do things decent in order. And for your listening audience, I know everybody may not have a faith. People can be Buddhist or agnostic atheist, so I respect everyone.
Yeah.
But I could have easily done 2 weeks. I looked at April is Fair Housing Month. We had a fair housing conference. May was supposed to be our 70th year gala with Eddie Glaw, and June was supposed to be our disability conference. And I was going to put a concept paper together for the governor's office. I do these concept papers for the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus. My dear colleague Napoleon Nelson and Executive Director April Ashe. Here's an interim possibility. This is who should be an interim executive director. I still showed up, supervisions and things of that nature. So I made that decision, and then I get a call from Max. I have no idea how the Philadelphia Inquirer got my resignation letter. I only sent it to 2 entities, the governor's office and the commissioners.
Really?
Yeah, it hit the streets.
You don't think any of the commissioners, I mean...
No, because here's the thing about the commissioners. Respectfully.
Yes.
The commissioners don't know the streets of Philadelphia. So who would the commissioners leak it to?
Well, didn't you say that the city council member...
Respectfully, Commissioner Jones doesn't check his PHRC commission email on that level. That's why we sent it. Sent it to him. We sent it to him on the other level.
And what level was that?
His councilman email address. This went to their commission email.
Okay.
A lot of commissioners have 2 emails. They have a PHRC commission email and they have a regular email. This went to the commission email. So I think the leak came from the governor's office.
So you think the governor's office leaked this letter to the press?
If they didn't do it, who did it?
I mean, the commissioners, but you don't think the commissioners did it?
I'm going to check the commissioner's office. Why would they benefit? They wouldn't benefit from creating hysteria by dropping my resignation letter to people in Philadelphia.
Right. So then riddle me this. How does the governor benefit?
Ooh, you a smart person.
I'm asking you. I can't make assumptions for you.
Yeah, I don't want you to make assumptions for me, but I don't know how they benefit from it, but look where we're at now.
Okay. I mean,
if they didn't leak it, how does it get to the streets of Philadelphia where people started talking, and what makes Max from the Philadelphia Inquirer call me?
Did he tell you he had the letter?
Uh, I don't recall my conversation because I was just so incensed with some of the things that he was asking me because it wasn't true journalism.
So when you got hit up about it, did you resign? Did you already? So you had already resigned. When did he contact you the day you resigned or the day after? When did he reach out to you
He
after you resigned?
contacted me that the Friday before his article dropped that Saturday.
So the article dropped Saturday. His article dropped Saturday. When did you? When did you? What day did you resign?
April 7th, I submitted my letter that I was stepping down on June 30th.
Okay.
Mac's article, you would have to see when Mac's article came out.
Right. So when these stories came out, so when this initially happened, and they said that, he actually, so his story came out April 17th. So it seemed like there was about a good week or some change once that story came out. I mean, word of mouth could have got around town. Again, it was close lipped, but it seems like you're saying maybe a leak in the governor's team might have done it, is what you're suggesting, or you're,
Or somewhere, or somewhere.
somewhere. Um, you just felt like you should leave based off of that. I mean, you didn't want to fight it. You didn't want to.
Well, it wasn't about fighting anything, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a good question. People are saying, well, did he step down because, of this or that? February 23rd, you didn't even give me a due process. You stereotyped me that I was catching cabs and limousines, and I know my worth and I know who I am. Once again, I came to the Commonwealth 8 years ago as an assignment by my creator for 5 years. That got extended to 3 additional years, 8 years. It's not about fighting anything because I'm not fighting anything because I didn't do anything. My goal is the commission is better off and better than it was over the past 20 years because I would have been in this space as its servant leader, along with a combination of staff, along with a combination of allies, members of the General Assembly, both in the Republican aisle and the Democrat aisle. From the 67 county tour, we concluded that, Ernest, and we established a director of rule and civic engagement position.
Right. But I'm saying, like, it's almost like, I mean, in some ways, they said you just didn't want to, I mean, you just chose peace. I'm just trying to understand, like, in many ways, you kind of felt like it was.
My prayer life revealed it to me. They said what they said February 23rd. Today is May 12th. I'm still showing up to work. I believe my assignment has come to an end. I don't like the viciousness of what I'm seeing nationally. I don't like the viciousness of what I'm experiencing and what I have experienced. I don't like the mischaracterization of the articles where, without a format that you've provided, and I thank the creator for you, people would think that the commissioners are just resigning because of a probe. There's no financial probe.
Well, right. So that's what I want to be clear on, right? If we didn't do this interview, you resigned, you didn't speak to anybody else.
I was going to.
Well, smart. The impression would have just been that you kind of left in disgrace and you was ousted in disgrace.
No, I was gonna speak. For me, looking at a call of action, at some point, I was going to speak, and I still do plan on speaking. At some point, I do believe that I am going to bring in my national contacts to address, the kind of ethos that we all find ourselves in. I've been in conversations with colleagues.
So I guess it's safe to say that you do kind of you do feel like the governor's administration, the Shapiro's team, did target you. Because initially when we talked early in the interview, it kind of seemed like you were like, I don't know why, whatever. And then the more we talk, it seems like you do sense that this wasn't just accidental. Because I mean, in operating in good faith, right? The assumptions, right? The benefit of the doubt would suggest, hey, they had these concerns. They contacted the chair, told the chair for you to step down. The chair didn't necessarily, I think from what I was gathering, the chair didn't necessarily go out their way to ask you to step down. Was it just the board, or did they, how did they go through that process of communication with him?
Process of what?
Like basically when they asked him to the call, was it a call, a vote? Was there going to be a vote? Like What was the
They
process? Yeah.
once again they called the chair and told the chair of the concerns they had, and they asked the chair that he needs to tell me to resign in 2 weeks, and the chair said, "I'm not going to ask ED Lassiter to step down. He's one of the best things that's happened to the PHRC." That's what he told them. They said then the commissioners need to make a vote to have him step down. He said there's no commissioner that's going to vote to have ED Lassiter step down because of the great work that he's doing.
Right. So so your team seemed like they wanted to keep you.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, Ernest. It's my feeling.
Right. Well,
I don't like
I,
them.
I get that. I'm not disputing
Yeah,
that. I just want to be
yeah.
clear
I've had people nationally, national leaders that I won't share here. That's
yeah.
like, yo, brother Lassiter, why don't you rescind that?
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't like the darkness anymore.
You feel like because of the way how they came at you with this, you feel like this would have been just look, if it's gonna go like this is a sign. So you've gotten the sense that they don't want you there.
Love is no longer being served at the table, and I know my worth. And I'm not going to sit at a place where you render me non-person, non-entity. You marginalize me. And some, I'm not feeling it anymore
And
because
also
of
the
how
governor
I've been treated.
Right. And how do you feel you've been treated?
That 8 years, I've gone to great lengths to turn around this organization and put it on a social justice platform of relevance and prominence not seen since the days of Homer Floyd. The woman before me was a white woman. It was chaos in the duration that she's been here. And half the stuff that I've experienced, she never experienced that. And so for me, I don't like the wins. I don't like the way that things are happening. And my faith leads me to simply say, it's time for another assignment. I'm excited about what that next assignment is. I've been out of the state, 67 county tour, 7 hours away from Philadelphia County as my mother had a stroke. 9 falls in the past 2 years, 3 mini strokes, and I still showed up to work. Rarely do I take off. I promoted people. I poured into people. So for me, I don't want my gifts any longer to be in this space. I don't want this Commonwealth to benefit from my anointing and my gifts and the way I love humanity when that love was not shown to me on February 23rd. You didn't even give me an opportunity for a due process or even a conversation. So I toyed with this concept. When I mean by I toyed with the concept, I said, what should I do? I looked at what happened to people on a national level. We haven't spoke about this here, Ernest, but a lot of people in Philadelphia know of individuals who have experienced similar things at the direction of this administration. And those males of color have had conversations with me. And when I heard their stories, I think I can be more effective outside of state government, working with organizations to bring attention to something called hashtag forced out.
But what is this? Which administration are you talking about? You talking about the Trump administration?
The current administration.
The Shapiro administration. Which administration?
The Shapiro administration.
Right. Do you feel like he was betrayed? Do you feel like this was betrayal? I mean, you talk about these years you've invested in, and now, do you feel like it was betrayal?
No, I think it was, for me, it was par for the course. I'm up next. I think that Black leaders and brown leaders are being targeted. I don't put stock into people always doing the right thing. I'm going to always do the right thing. My letter of resignation was written. It was written from a standpoint of thanks. I did an op-ed pinned live saying thank you to the people of the Bluff community. I'm not bitter. I was upset, but now I'm feeling a sense of peace. I'll say to your audience, I've always admired you. You don't need me to say this. I'm not placating you, ingratiating, or displaying with false generosity.
Yeah.
But all the forums that I'm on, you provided a forum for me to talk a truth, right? The Philadelphia Inquirer didn't do that. Max was not looking for the truth. The Philadelphia Inquirer, they promised the Black community, once again, that after George Floyd, they were going to move in a different direction. They got rid of the DEI desk.
They did.
And then it was a hatchet job. It was not fair. Like, yo, talk to me about this, Chad. What's really happening? You provided that format. And so I have nothing but fond memories. I would encourage everybody to look at our website, look at what we created on the PHRC YouTube and things of that nature. I don't think that I was betrayed. I think it's par for the course. I'm resilient. It's brought out the
Right, but
David in me.
when you say par the course, I mean it just sounds like it's almost like you predicted your exit from this administration based on what though? Like,
When I say par for the course, Ernest, I'm
yeah,
saying for those of us who are in these spaces, everybody's being attacked on a national level. What I'm trying to do by saying par for the course is we sign up to be civil rights and human rights leaders. Some of us are called to this space. They've attacked the National NAACP, the National Urban League. They've attacked the Southern Poverty Law Center. You have Project 2025. You know, we saw what happened to, folk who speak out. The disruptors are always the ones that folk are mad at. Kaepernick did a silent knee protest, and he's the problem, not the anthology of police
right.
brutality. So when I say,
So you're saying that this is a larger trend, and Governor Shapiro's administration is a part of that trend. You spoke about the DEI office in the state and how that got gutted, and that was under the Shapiro administration. You're saying that this is a part of a growing national trend, partially from two administrations. You got Trump, who's doing on the national federal level, and you're saying in the state level that Shapiro's doing the same thing. And so you're not surprised after
I'm
seeing.
not saying that the governor is doing it on a state level. I think it's a combination of things that are occurring that I can't put my pulse on that's happening on the state level. I think this is happening in multiple states. I can't sit here and point to this is what they're doing. What I'm saying is I know that I was targeted by those three individuals in that administration on February 23rd.
Right. But you said that this is happening again. You named another office. You named he's Cologne, who was recently let go, and he was the executive director of or the
I
director
don't
of
have his entire title, but
yeah,
he was part of our DEBI, our Debbie office, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, Norman Bristol Cologne.
yeah, and that kind of just happened. Like,
I don't know when it happened, how recent, but it did happen.
yeah, I know, but that happened within the past year, and he's been that kind of just he disappeared, and then of course there's been other people who've been in other positions that have been trickling off. And in a way, you kind of just, I don't know, the way you talk about this, it sounds as though it was anticipated eventually. You say part of the course, it's almost like given these changes happening.
Yeah, yeah, because I study this stuff, Ernest, and I like your journalistic fervor. Um, I I had to move it off of Chad Dion Lassiter because if I kept it on Chad Dion Lassiter, then I'm missing what's happening on a macro level. When
Right.
I say par for the course, I'm not trying to minimize, my suffering and my scars because of this, but they attack everyone. When Nicole Hannah Jones of the Project 1619 says Trump undid 60 years of civil rights in 2 months, I think that there's a coordinated effort across the country to minimize Black humanity and render us non-person, non-entity. We saw what happened in Louisiana and Tennessee. So when I say par for the course, I'm not minimizing it, but because you're very well read and learned, the attacks on Ibram Kendi, the attacks on multiple people, the attacks on that we see often on our trans community and multiple communities. And so for me, um, this is it. And I wish the PHRC the best. I'm going to continue to meet my duties and responsibilities and obligations. I'm still showing up each day, doing my reports. I'm still showing up, having supervisions, and still doing speaking engagements. I'm going to process a lot of this afterward. The questions you're asking me are great questions. It's in the moment. But I think it's a combination of things. Has helped me out in this space is people who understand politics who are like, yo, Chad, you just got caught up in politics. I'm not in the rooms to see what deals are being made. What I will say is, as the executive director of PHRC, we did a lot of great work. We created a lot of initiatives, and not everybody was appreciative of that, whoever the larger they are. I think there is a movement to kind of paint this picture that PHRC expenditures are wrong. So then you can move in and whatever your design clandestine plan is, we can say, oh, it happened under a Black man. And you know that, Ernest. They try to make it look like, we lost control. Turmoil in the PHRC. No, staff is showing up every single day. Staff is still being educated on the difference between work-life balance because a lot of our staff don't take time off. They work for the people of the Commonwealth.
Got you. And I guess in closing, What are your next steps? I mean, not as far as work go, but just in general. There's been this piece has come out. There's been a lot of questions. Um, if you didn't speak, there would have been a lot of people just thinking, "Hey, another person with some money doing some things." I mean, that's what happens when people don't talk. Um, I mean, the governor might hit you up in the next couple of days, possibly. This is going to be out there. What are your next steps? I mean,
My next steps are,
yeah,
are to continue to speak. That African proverb, the lion's story will never be known if the hunter is the one that tells it. I don't think you create brave spaces; they have to emerge.
right.
You helped this brave space to emerge, and so I want to thank you because the paralysis of silence centered around me not speaking has been broken. I'm going to continue to speak my truth. I'm going to continue to do the work that I need to do. I'm excited about the possibility of doing some work with the Philadelphia NAACP. I can see myself one day being the president of the Philadelphia NAACP,
Interesting. Okay.
putting it where I think it needs to be because of my skill set. I'm going to do some volunteer work. I'm a full-time caretaker of my mom. I'm still going to be in this area. I have two books that I'm going to write. One is called Ivy League Halls. Another one is called A Diseased Democracy. I'm looking forward to that. One of the things that the government does is it does not allow you to do a lot of supplemental stuff. So now
Right.
I can go back out and do some talking. I can do some commencement addresses, get paid, and send that money to a foundation that I'm really behind, which is called Soldier of Love Foundation, that works with women who have been victims and survivors of intimate partner violence. PHRC related, I still have things that I'm going to do with our civil rights and human rights clubs. I got a robust schedule ending this month, and then I'll be transitioning. I think a call of action for me, if one was to ask me what's the call of action, I would say those who have been targeted for whatever reason need to begin to build a coalition to speak back to that. I got some other things that I'm not going to let out, but
Yeah.
there are going to be some social justice action things that are going to come. I'm very very clear that I left PHRC better than what it was over the past 20 years. Nobody's going to be able to wipe that work out. Last thing I'll say, Ernest, I would want everyone that's listening to your podcast, because I know it's far and wide, to continue to support those of us who are in the civil rights, human rights space.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for taking out the time to speak candidly about all this. I know it's been a very tough time. I can imagine that kind of attention and what have you, and definitely be following up on, you know, your journey and what your next steps are. June 30th will be your last day in this role. And, we'll see what happens next. Well, that is everything for everybody here listening to Ernestly Speaking. Take some time, look into what's going on. We'll be following all updates. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.